Coming up on today's episode of the Ravens Rundown, we're going to talk a little bit of Kayvon Thibodeaux because he has been linked as a possible trade target for the Baltimore Ravens. The former top 5 pick could be wearing purple and gold in just a couple of weeks. Before we dive into that, though, I got to shed some light on our sub-battle against the Chiefs report. We've been doing this all of April. We'll continue it over the next couple of weeks, and we're getting our tails kicked right now. We are down 18 subs. That's not a crazy gap. We can, shorten that up over the next couple of days, but I need you guys to help me out. If you hate the Chiefs, if you love the Ravens, you found the perfect channel. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, help us pass the Chiefs report and claim our dominance. Alrighty, so is there a big trade coming? Because Matt Luciano of G-Men HQ, guy who writes for the New York Giants, named Baltimore as a possible candidate for edge rusher Kayvon Thibodeaux. Here's more of what he had to say. The Ravens finally saw Dafe Owe break out, and Kyle Van Noy is still a productive player. Even with those two factors working in their favor, they need one more dynamic playmaker up front. John Harbaugh developing Thibodeaux could be a scary sight for the rest of the AFC. And I don't necessarily disagree. Kayvon Thibodeaux has been an interesting case study because I think people automatically just want to label him a bust. But he's just kind of struggled with injuries. And when he's been healthy, he's been really, really good. We'll look a little bit more into these stats in just a second. But we've talked a ton on this channel over the last couple of weeks about how this team needs a little bit of juice up front. Sure, Dafe Owe broke out, but he's still a massive question mark player. Kyle Van Noy is giving you back-to-back really good seasons, but he's aging every single day. Kayvon Thibodeaux could come in here and be that number one solution for next years to come. So what say you guys? Should the Ravens trade for Kayvon Thibodeaux? Give me a yes, give me a no in the comment section down below. You're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break when that time comes. Go down the comment section, find this pinned comment, and give me your answer. When you look at the stats for Kayvon over the last 3 seasons, 28 tackles this past year, took a little bit of a step back, but it's that 2023 season that I really want to highlight. The full year he played, first time in his career, he had double-digit sacks at 11.5, 50 tackles, and also 43 pressures on the season. So could Kayvon come to Baltimore? Let's talk about it and a little bit more about the edge rusher. He was selected by New York as the 5th overall pick in the 2020 NFL draft out of the University of Oregon. He flashed on the scene, like I said, in 2023, 11.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and also 4 pass deflections. Is definitely one of those more athletic outside linebackers that can get his hands up and can read a quarterback's eyes and just is really good in pass deflection and pass coverage. He did suffer a wrist injury in Week 5 of the 2024 NFL season that placed him on the IR for 5 games, good amount of time, from October 12th to November 23rd. However, when he came back, he really, really played well for the rest of the season, was one of the very few bright spots for that New York Giants team just in general. So why are we talking about this? As of right now, New York has not picked up his 5th-year option yet. May 1st is the deadline for if they're going to do this or not. And New York currently has minus 230 odds to draft Abdul Carter, the edge rusher out of Penn State, with the 3rd overall pick in the upcoming 2025 NFL draft. And so if they do draft Abdul Carter, many people think that they move on from Kayvon Thibodeaux to try to get something back for him because they're just going to replace him with Abdul Carter as the number 1 edge rusher on that squad. And why does he need to come to Baltimore? Well, we've talked about this a ton. We've showed you this a good bit, but it's always good to revisit. Because if you look at the reality of how the Baltimore Ravens dealt with their pass rush last season, it was a lot worse than people thought just looking at the total sack number. Pass rush win rate 33%. That just means that only a third of the time their pass rushers got off their blocks within 2.5 seconds. That was bottom 4 in the National Football League. Run stop win rate wasn't great. Quarterback pressure rate was subpar at 31.4%. And their time to pressure, 2.88 seconds. Dead last in the National Football League, gave quarterbacks a lot of time to throw, way too much time to throw, and that's exactly what I believe hurt them in the playoff game against Buffalo. If you look back at that game, this team forced 1 sack, 0 quarterback hits, only 6 quarterback pressures in the entirety of the game, and a quarterback pressure rate of 26.1. All of those statistics needed just to be a little bit better, give Josh Allen a little bit more, a little bit less time in the pocket to pick you apart. And that's what Kayvon Thibodeaux does really well. If you look at the stats compared to Odafe Owe and Kyle Van Noy, he played in 5 less games, but just had 4 less pressures. In 5 or 4 less games compared to the other guys, and his time to pressure is better than them, far better than Odafe Owe, almost by a full half second, and still a tenth of a second better than Kyle Van Noy. He has the ability, if he can just put it all together like he did in 2023, if he can play a full season like he did in 2023, he can be a star for any team. And I think Thibodeaux would fit in really well with Baltimore. With the scheme this team runs, his age fits in perfect. I think they're trying to get a little bit younger on the defensive side of the football with the additions of Nate Wiggins. Obviously, Kyle Hamilton is still really, really young. And they've got a lot of really good players, but those players, I don't want to say they're more of aging players, but like Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Van Noy, Roquan Smith isn't young anymore. They need to get a little bit younger on that side of the ball, and I'd love to see what Zach Orr can do with a talent like Kayvon Thibodeaux. So coming up, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what a trade would look like. Because we can't just talk about it and say, sure, I'd do it or I wouldn't do it. I need to give you the specifics. That's coming up in just a second. Before that, I want to give you the specifics on just how great our friends over at Game Time truly are. Because Game Time is the official ticketing partner of the Ravens Rundown. And what I love about Game Time is they provide the easiest way to get tickets on short notice. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and of course, the basketball playoffs are coming up. And I know Baltimore doesn't have a basketball team, but the playoffs are almost here, and it doesn't matter who you cheer for. Being in the building in that electric playoff atmosphere gives you memories you'll never forget for the rest of your life. They're easy to find and buy basketball tickets and tickets for every kind of event in your area. Game Time has an awesome feature called Zone Deals. Game Time Zone Deals allow customers to purchase deals for a general area of a venue rather than specific seats, offering potential discounts and flexibility for last-minute ticket buyers. I don't know which basketball team you cheer for. It could be the Celtics. It could be the Knicks. But we all know that the playoffs are coming up very soon, and they are very, very exciting. It's so incredibly easy to use. If you are a Knicks fan, if you want to go watch them play in Madison Square Garden, the first round of the playoffs, you can use our friends at Game Time. You can also see your seats before you even purchase your ticket. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. The link to this promo is in the comments and in the description of today's video. So download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. So this is what a trade would look like for the edge rusher. It would be Kayvon Thibodeaux. Baltimore would receive him for a 2025 second-round pick, number 59. And I know that sounds a little bit high, but I asked Marshall Green about this. He is our Giants Now host. He's been a Giants fan for his entire life. He covers the team on a day-to-day basis, just like I do with Baltimore. He knows his team better than anybody I know. And he said, this is a quote from him, second-round pick would be my guess. Maybe they'll settle for a third, but I don't know if they want a late third for him. And that's the bummer about where Baltimore selects, right? It's great that we follow a really good team. However, because they're so good, they pick at the end in every single round. So a lot of times, they might look at a late second-round pick, like Baltimore has. Sure, it's still in the second round, but like essentially it's very similar to an early third for any other team. So why they might settle for an early third from a team like, I don't know, Cleveland, Jacksonville, New England, that wouldn't be the case for Baltimore because they pick so late in that third round. And honestly, for a guy like Kayvon Thibodeaux, who I still think is a big question mark with his health, a big question mark in his production, and he hasn't quite, played up to the snuff of a top 5 pick, a second round selection seems like a lot, okay? And I want to see if you guys agree, okay? I'm going to ask you, would you accept this trade? Kayvon Thibodeaux for a 2025 second-rounder, pick number 59 overall. Let me know in the comment section down below by typing A for accept or D for decline. In my opinion, the biggest reason you would decline this trade if you're Baltimore is because you believe you can find a good edge rusher in the draft. And in my opinion, you can find a good edge rusher at pretty much every single one of the first 4 rounds, which you have 5 selections in. Remember, you got 2 picks in the 4th round. In round 1, I want a guy like a James Pierce Jr. I think he is the most likely target for Baltimore in that first round pick at number 27. I've seen him fall all the way there. I've even seen him fall too early in the 2nd round. I would love taking that number 27th overall pick, turning it into a guy like James Pierce Jr., who's still incredibly young, had a ton of pressure pressures last year with Tennessee and has a really high ceiling. I also know the character concerns. However, I think Baltimore is just a really mature franchise, has really mature players, and he would fit right in and even thrive in this defense. Let's talk about round 2. If you don't get one in round 1, Jack Sawyer could be a name to look out for. I know he didn't have just an unreal, unbelievable type season with Ohio State. He did finish the year with 10 sacks and 64 pressures, still really impressive. What I love about Jack is that he came alive in the biggest moments. You look at the game against Texas. He made that big play against Quinn Ewers on the goal line. That entire playoff run, he absolutely showed out, was phenomenal when they played Tennessee in that first round. Jack Sawyer's a guy who comes alive in the biggest moments. I love that about a player. Second round pick, number 59. I think Jack Sawyer would be a good selection. Let's talk round 3. Olawufemi Oladejo, a guy we've talked about a decent bit. He has visited Baltimore, so they do know that they are interested. Femi is a guy who, has a lot of projection on him. He's 22, but he's got incredible traits. He's got incredible speed, and he's been rising up draft boards. If you take a third-round flyer on Femi, I'd be happy. If it's anything earlier than that, I think I'd be a little bit upset. And my favorite sleeper prospect of the entire draft, round 4 possibility, Antoine Powell-Ryland. In 2024, 16 sacks, 48 pressures. He is 23 years old, which is a big question mark. He also is 6'2", like just a little bit over 6'2.5", so he's not a big guy whatsoever. So I think that's something to take into account as well. But the production that he had at Virginia Tech is so massive, you cannot just overlook it. And if you're in round 4 and APR is still on the board, I'm sprinting to go turn in that card. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button before we get on out of here. Really do appreciate you guys for hanging out with us every single day. We got the draft coming up in just like a week and a half. It's going to be a blast. Make sure you lock us in right now by hitting that sub button.